Hi students, today we are going to study about inequalities. Here we are going to see what are the different principles of solving an inequality. Also we are going to see about what is absolute value and problems based on that. Further we are going to see quadratic inequalities and the polynomial inequalities. Also we are going to study about how to solve inequalities on more than one variable and a system of inequalities. At the last, we are going to study about the inequality that relates the arithmetic mean and the geometric mean of positive numbers. So let's begin. Let us say that these are the two kids who are playing with balls. Now, my question to you is, who has got more number of balls? Clearly, this boy has got more balls. He has more balls to play with. So by counting the number of balls, we can tell that this boy has got more number of balls as compared to this girl. Let us say that we have got two blocks A and B and we have placed them in this balance. Now the balance moves this way. If I ask you which block is lighter in this case, then of course your answer should be B, because the weight of A is more than the weight of B, and so B is lighter than A. Let us take one more example. Let us say that we have got two varieties of rice. One is sold at 20 rupees per kg and the other one is sold at 15 rupees per kg. Now, which of these two varieties is costlier? Of course, this rice is costlier. Now, what is so common in all these examples? Yeah, definitely we have compared the measure of two quantities and we have seen which quantity is greater or which quantity is lesser. Whenever we make a comparison, we make the comparison of the measure of two quantities, which is quite evident from the examples we have taken. Now to denote which quantity is more than the other quantity, we use the concept of inequalities. Inequalities helps us to get an idea of which quantity is greater or which quantity is lesser. So let's see what are inequalities. An inequality states that one real quantity or expression is greater than or less than another real quantity or expression. So, what is an inequality? It helps us to state that one real quantity or expression is greater than or less than other real quantity. So, actually we make a comparison between the measure of two quantities. Either one quantity could be less than the other one, or it could be greater than the other one. It could also be equal to the other one. So there are three cases. Either it could be less than, or it could be greater than, or it could even be equal to the other quantity. Now, how do we denote that? If we have a quantity A which is greater than the quantity B, then it is denoted by A greater than B. This sign or this symbol denotes that A is greater than B. This symbol or this sign denotes greater than. If we use this symbol, then it denotes that the quantity A is greater than the quantity B. Similarly, if we have A less than B, let us say that there are two quantities A and B and the measure of A is less than the measure of B, then it is denoted by A less than B. So it's important that this sign denotes greater than and this sign denotes less than. Now let's look at the meaning of different symbols. First is A greater than B. Now what does this denote? It simply means that A is greater than B. Quantity A is greater than B. Now if A is greater than B, then A minus B would be a positive number. So because A is greater than B, the measure of A is greater than B, therefore the number A minus B would always be positive. Now if you come across this statement, this simply denotes that A is less than B, or A minus B is a negative number. Because the measure of A is less than B, therefore the number A minus B would be a negative number. So this denotes A less than B and this denotes A greater than B. The third is A is greater or equal to B. So this symbol actually denotes A is greater than or equal to B. It could never be less than B. It could either be equal to B or it could be greater than B, but it could never be less than B. This denotes that A is less than or equal to B. So this symbol with an equality sign denotes that A is less than or equal to B. It can never be greater than B. If you come across this statement, which is A is greater than 0 and which is less than 1, then what does this mean? It simply means that A is greater than 0 but less than 1. So A lies between 0 and 1, and A cannot be equal to neither of the quantities 0 and 1. So simply such type of statement means that A is greater than 0 but less than 1. Instead of 0 and 1, we can have different numbers. Let's say they are B and C. So if we replace 0 by B and 1 by C, then it would mean that A is greater than B but less than C. So A lies between B and C, and both these points B and C are not included. Now if you come across this statement like x belongs to 0, 1, now it simply means that value of x lies between 0 and 1, both not included. So this statement actually means that the value of x lies between 0 and 1. It could be 0.5, it could be 0.3 and so on. But it would not be equal to 0 and it would not be equal to 1. So this bracket sign denotes that the value of x lies between 0 and 1, both not included. If you come across this type of statement that x belongs to -1, 3, here the bracket sign has changed, then it simply means that value of x lies between -1 and 3, where x can be equal to -1 but not equal to 3. This is a closed and this is an open bracket, in which it means that x belongs to -1 to 3 and -1 is included, that is x can be equal to -1. But as this is open bracket, therefore it means that x would not be equal to 3. So this type of statement means that first of all x lies between -1 and 3 and x can be equal to -1, but it should not be equal to 3. If you have such type of statement, then what does it mean? It means that value of x lies between -1 and 4, where x can be equal to -1 and 4. Here you see that both these brackets are closed brackets. Therefore, x can lie between -1 and 4. Also, it can have the values -1 and 4. Both are included. In this, both these values are not included. In such type of statement, only this value is included. That is x can be equal to -1, but it cannot be equal to 3. And in this type of statement, when we have a closed bracket, then it means that x can have the value equal to -1 and x can also have the value equal to 4. So this was some of the important statements and their meanings. Now let's move on to the principles of inequalities. The first principle is that the inequality remains unchanged when a same number is added or subtracted from both the sides of inequality. The first principle says that if we add or subtract a same quantity from both the sides of the inequality, then the inequality remains the same. So let's take an example. Let us say that we have an inequality 4 greater than 3. Of course, we know that 4 is greater than 3. So this is one inequality. If we add 2 to both sides of this inequality, then LHS of the inequality becomes 4 plus 2 and RHS becomes 3 plus 2. Now 4 plus 2 is 6 and 3 plus 2 is 5. So we get the inequality as 6 greater than 5, which is actually true. So what do we see? That if we add same number to both sides of the inequality, the inequality remains the same. Here it is greater than, so it remains greater than. The LHS remains greater than RHS. Similarly, let's try to subtract 2 from both the sides of this inequality. What do we get? We get LHS as 4 minus 2 and the RHS as 3 minus 2. 4 minus 2 is 2 and the RHS would be 1. And we also know that 2 is greater than 1. So what do we see? We see that this inequality is also true. So if we subtract 2 from both the sides of this inequality, the inequality remains the same. So what we can say, the inequality remains unchanged when a same number is added or subtracted from both the sides of the inequality. The next principle is each side of an inequality can be multiplied or divided by the same positive quantity. So if we have an inequality, then we can multiply or divide both the sides of the inequality by a same positive quantity. Here important thing is we are multiplying or dividing by a positive quantity. It should not be negative one. Let's take the same inequality 4 greater than 3. Now multiplying both sides by 2. Let us multiply both the sides by 2. What do we get? 4 into 2 greater than 3 into 2. This becomes 8 greater than 6, and which is actually true. We know that 8 is greater than 6. So what do we see? If we multiply both the sides by a same positive quantity, then inequality remains the same. Now let's look at the second part of this. Let's try to divide both the sides by 2. Now if we divide this by 2 and the RHS also by 2, what do we get? 2 greater than 1.5, which is also true. So what do we see? We see that if both the sides of the inequality are multiplied or divided by a same positive quantity, then the inequality remains the same. It does not change. Let's move on to the next principle, and it says that if each side of an inequality is multiplied or divided by the same negative quantity, the sign of inequality must be reversed so that the new inequality is equivalent to the first one. So if we multiply or divide the sides of the inequality by a same negative number, now we are taking the case of a negative number, then the inequality must be reversed. So a greater than inequality becomes less than inequality to have the new inequality equivalent to the first one. Let us say that we have again the same inequality, 4 greater than 3. Now multiplying both sides by minus 2. Let us multiply both the sides by minus 2. So according to this principle, we are going to reverse the sign of this inequality. This greater than becomes less than. So 4 into minus 2 is less than 3 into minus 2. This becomes minus 8 less than minus 6, which is true. We always know that minus 8 is less than minus 6. So what do we see? We see that if we are multiplying both the sides by a same negative quantity, then we have to reverse the sign of inequality. Now what we do is we divide both the sides by minus 2. So 4 divided by minus 2 should be less than 3 divided by minus 2. Again we are going to reverse the sign of inequality. Greater than has to be changed to less than. This becomes minus 2 less than minus 1.5, and which is true. So what do we see? If we multiply or divide both the sides of the inequality by a same negative quantity, then we got to change the sign of the inequality. That is, if we have a greater than sign, then it has to become less than sign, or if it is a less than sign, then it has to become a greater than sign. The next is, if a is greater than b and a, b and n are positive numbers, then a to the power of n is greater than b to the power of n, but a to the power of minus n is less than b to the power of minus n. So let us say that we have an inequality a greater than b, and let us say that we have got three positive numbers a, b and n. Then in such a case, a to the power of n would always be greater than b to the power of n, but a to the power of minus n be less than b to the power of minus n. Let's again take an example. Let's consider the same inequality, 4 greater than 3. Now let us say that n is equal to 2. So let us first assume that n is a positive quantity. 4 square would be greater than 3 square, this way. And we also know that 4 square would be 16 and 3 square would be 9. And we also know that 16 is greater than 9. So this inequality is true. And so from this, we have proved this part. Let's see the second part. Let's try to prove the second part. Let us say that n is equal to minus 2. So 4 to the power of minus 2 would be less than 3 to the power of minus 2. According to this, now this would be 1 by 16 less than 1 by 9, which is actually true. So what do we see? We see that if a is greater than b, then a to the power of n should be greater than b to the power of n, but a to the power of minus n should be less than b to the power of minus n. In this case, a, b and n are all positive numbers. So these were some of the basic principles of inequalities which we are going to use to solve problems on inequalities.